Right, we'll drop the subject. I suppose it's something we could continue talking about, but we'll move on to something else. What will we talk about now? You obviously didn't really work outside the land. In other words, did you work in any business places?
Never. I worked on the land from the day I was born to this day.
Did everything? Everything
that was done. I worked when I was only a little thing. We'd have to run home to school to gather the spuds after the spade, the little spuds. And lap the hay, cut the oats, that one, and I was just down at home. Well, when I came up here then, it was a big place, and there was horses and everything. Well, I take me horses and I could go out and plough. And I could take me horses and cut hay, cut oats or anything else. I could do anything with a horse that ever was done.
Including shoe them?
Including shoeing them, and I shod a horse, I have it to say, and many another shoe I driv that there wouldn't be blacksmith about the place, and someone would come. There came a lad one fair day, he was away in the fair, and he had 2 horses, and he took on to shoe them. Well, says I, don't shoe them, says I, you'll quick them. Oh, he'd shoe them. So he'd got the hammer and he got the nails, and he took up one horse's foot, and there was a shoe in it, and out comes the blood. So when he came to me, and with all his struggles, says I told you not to do it. You couldn't do it. And what am I going to do now? Well, says I'll fix the horse for present, for today, but you bring the horse to the blacksmith tomorrow. So I went in and I got a lock of salt. I roasted it on the pan. We heated it, and a rag, cotton wool, and I pegged it up in the holes that he was after making in the wrong place, and sent him home with the horse, so he came back the next day and got the horse fixed up. I done that.
What was the other thing you did? Was it with the donkey or the ass, to put into more perspective, I suppose, in those days?
The ass, my father, the ass, that it was at home down in Rockcurry that the ass was now. And it was, Dick and me were 2, there was only a year between us. And the stones would all have to be gathered off hay fields and off oat fields, so didn't he buy an ass for us to gather these stones? And this bloody ass, he was the nuisance, because there's a mark on my leg there that he gave me a kick. In them years I was going out and I thought I'd ride them all, you know, but I thought I'd get on this ass from behind and he drew the leg and hit me in the leg with a kick. So I never forgot that ass. That was down at Rockcurry when we were kids, you know, in the war years.
But there was yet another story, was there, in this locality, with an ass that was broke down on the road with a load of flour, was it?
That was the horse that was going to the mill with the mail, right. And the horse slipped and fell on the frost, and they had to take the horse out of the cart, pull the cart of oats in along the road, and the 2 men that helped him sent him over to the forge, to the forge, and the blacksmith was in bed and he wouldn't get up. So I shod that horse.
And supplied the nails and all, did you?
The nails was in the forge, all he had to do was pick them up. But I'd have to make sharp nails, so he wouldn't always have frost nails, and I had to make frost nails with some of the ordinary nails, with my hammer on the anvil. I done it. And I put on the shoes and I clinched them, and the young lad, he was a student priest, he knew nothing about anything, he holding the horse by the head, but he held the horse by the head, and there was no women wearing trousers that time, and it was skirts I had, and I got it hard to keep the horse's leg between the skirts, so he held the horse's leg between his legs, and I done that work on the foot. I'm not afraid to tell it, I done it.
Why should you? Why should you? You talked a little bit earlier there on about the war years. Were they hard, tough times?
The war years were hard, tough times. I was in Rockcurry shopping with my parents the day the first war broke out, 1914. And the sugar ran up to halfpenny a pound, and there was holy war in the village of Rockcurry about the sugar. All the sugar came in from England that time. There was no sugar there in this country that time at all. So all the war years were hard. All they were hard years. I mean, the last war was worse than the first war, because we were rationed to, you'd get only £3 of flour, or the weight of it of bread, to do you for a week. and a kid would get the same. So we had a flock of children out there, and there was a poor old woman over there, and she had a half-cracked son, and what she'd get for the two of them, he'd eat in one day. So I used to keep sugar for her, and I kept butter. Butter was ration too. I kept butter. We had our own cows, and we'd churn, and I keep the butter, get the butter or the creamery from the priest. Down here, the priest, there was the priest and his aunt and his uncle living with him. So that was three, and they'd only get a little bit of butter, and sure, she'd come to me, and I got the butter for her on my voucher, on our vouchers. That happened in the war years now, and the sugar was the same, and the tea was the same. Anyone that would have children, they'd give the children milk, and keep the tea for someone that had no, it was fond of tea and have no tea.
What were you reared on as youngsters?
Porridge in the morning, porridge at night, spuds, potatoes, spuds, cabbage when it was going, and in the summertime, in the month when the spuds was gone out, porridge again. But you'd get three kinds of porridge. You'd get oaten porridge, you'd get yellow golden drop, and you'd get white golden drop, which was very, very refined Indian meal. I suppose you never seen it. Well, I seen it. It was lovely. The snowdrop, the white stuff was called. Golden drops was and then there was the ordinary Indian meal. Well, my father always bought the golden drop for us. Sometimes about there were 10-stone bags or something, and they'd come in then say you'd have to buy the bag, and he'd buy the bag of the meal, and that done us. Well, that had been now while the spuds wasn't coming in, but he'd always plant a ridge of spuds down the back of the ditch that would come in at the 1st of July.
Did you milk cows by hand?
I did when I was 6 years old. I was just 6 years old, and I had a sister that was 3 years old, and my father and my mother put her to milk, and she was 9. So May was put to milk, and May began to milk, and she come on and she dragged me. I can milk and you can't. But she was 3 years older than me. So I tackled in, and there was a wicked cow in the house, and we short tits on her, and I got at the cow, and I milked the cow, and I sat down and I told her I can milk as well as you, and I was 3 years younger than her. So I was 6